So let's say our task is to calculate Medicare deduction for Jack and Jill. As you recall, hopefully, the Medicare rate is 1.45%. So using your calculator, don't use Excel for now. Using your calculator, go ahead and calculate the Medicare deduction for Jack and then for Jill. Pause the video and give yourself a little bit of time to do that, and then come back and unpause the video to see if you get the right answer. So for Jack, did you get a Medicare deduction of $11.38? And for Jill, a Medicare deduction of $14.25? Okay, so let's look at this first column, which is the incorrect way to do it. Here's how most students do it. I'm going to click here, and now we can see the formula up here. The formula is G17, which is Jack, times 1.45%. I want you to see an alternative way to do that same formula. You could do this formula down here. In this cell, you could have placed this formula equals G17, Jack's gross, times 1.45 divided by 100. That's the same as doing it this way. And you still get the same result, 11.383. So wait, why do you get 11.383? Well, Excel will not round the answer unless you tell it to. Now, mistakenly, a lot of students think this will round it, the decreased decimal or the increased decimal. So notice when I decrease this decimal, students think, oh, look, it's $11.38. That's correct. Well, no, what this function up here does, the decreased decimal, is it just decreases what is seen. It decreases the decimal of what is seen. It does not actually round the actual number. And here's how you can tell. I'm going to click in this cell. I'm going to say hit equal, and then I'm going to point to this cell to see what's really in there. And when I maximize the decimals, you see what is really in here is 11.383. So we cannot use this function up here, the decreased decimal, to accurately round the actual data. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Let me maximize the decimal so you see what's really in there. And again, what this column is showing is what students do. All I've done here is this column is I've decreased the decimal using these functions up here. So notice when we do the math, 11.38 and 14.25 does not equal 25.64. If these numbers were truly rounded, this should end in a 3, right? Because 8 plus 5 is 13, so this is a 3. So what's going on is Excel is actually going into the real number up here, which is 0.383 and 0.254, and adding this 3 and the 4, okay? So the way to accurately round this, you have to use the round function. Here's what the round function looks like, equals round, blah, blah, blah. So let's click on here and see how to round it correctly with Excel. So now you only have to use this rounding technique for any cell that could result in more than 2 decimals. So let's look at the formula up here. The formula is, it's actually the same as before. Well, I should say this part, the G17, remember, is the gross wages times 1.45%. That is the same as what's in this cell and this cell here. But what the round does in front of it is, notice I have this part in front of the comma highlighted. That means that's the number. Whatever number or formula we put in here is going to be rounded, and you tell it how many digits to round to by placing the number of digits after the comma. See, num digits stands for number digits. So if you want to use Excel and you want to use the formulas in Excel, anything that could result in more than 2 decimals, you're going to have to round using this method up here. And now notice I've rounded this cell correctly and this cell correctly, and it rounds it correctly to 11.38 with nothing afterwards. You can even increase the decimal further and see there are no other decimals in there. And notice it adds it up correctly. 8 plus 5 is 13, so here's a 3. So these two cells, or these two columns here and here, were not rounded, and therefore it did not add up correctly. So if you want to see this spreadsheet, I have it in Canvas for you, and it's called Excel Guidelines for Payroll Projects. So then you can open this up and look at the actual formulas, etc.